There's a passageway, a gate behind. Wait. This one is written terribly. I'm going to do a different one. They have opened the gate. Pray it's not too late. Welcome to I Hope You Suffer.
Ooh, I like the little rhyme.
Demons lurk behind. Parentheses, the gate.
Oh.
I'm going to say this is Demons 10.
I mean, honestly, at this point, sure.
This is episode 197 of I Hope You Suffer. My name is Nathan.
I'm Kit.
And I'm Katie.
This week we watched 1987's The Gate, which was Katie's pick.
Gatey.
Yeah, Katie's pick.
Wow.
Very glad this movie was 85 minutes.
And
Yeah.
good.
Because I did.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Winning
it's good,
combination.
but I did not have the attention span this week for
God, same.
movies that, like, I had to pay attention to. Like, I've had movies on pretty much all week, but, like, not fully paying attention to shit. And I went to watch this, and I was like, oh, thank God this is, like, short, because I couldn't deal with a 2-hour movie this week.
No. Sometimes it's hard when the main characters are like actual children too, but well, I was having buffering issues, so I could watch like sometimes it would be normal, and then sometimes it would take me like 20 minutes to get through like 5 minutes of the movie, and I was just like, I love this movie, but this is really testing my patience.
The best thing about this movie is that it's the same director as Mansquito.
Oh, man.
Amazing.
I didn't
actually
realize
didn't
that.
know that.
Mansquito, Ice Spiders.
That one I knew.
Amazing.
What is this one? Spider. Just a movie called
Oh.
Spiders.
That Sabrina the Teenage Witch movie.
Yeah, he did
Amazing.
2 of the Sabrina movies.
Sabrina Goes to Rome.
Rocky Mountain
Excuse me.
Christmas.
Amazing, yes.
It's wild how many of the Sci-Fi Channel people also just do, like, it's just Sci-Fi Channel and, like, Hallmark and Lifetime
Christmas movies, yeah.
Because he's
Amazing.
also got, so he's got, let's see, Rocky Mountain Christmas, It's Christmas Eve, The Secret Ingredient, Christmas Miracle, Memories of Christmas, starring Lark Voorhees, I believe. No, that's Christina Milan. Never mind. That's not cool. Once Upon a Christmas, like The Christmas Aunt, Twice Upon a Christmas, and then also Earthquake, Meteor Storm,
He's done
Metal
lot
Messiah,
of
Black Hole, Destruction Los Angeles, Kraken
Mega
Tentacles
Snake.
of the Deep, NYC Tornado Terror. I gotta see that.
what a
Although
range here.
We'll probably be able to see that in like 2 years. So, in real life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Katie, why was this your pick?
I need to watch his Christian Slater movie, first of all. I picked this one because it's not perfect, but
That's a hell of a way to start out why you picked it.
I look forward to next week. A kid is like, I picked this because it's like it's not good, but it's good.
It was there.
Yeah.
Personally, I was trying to decide between picking this movie or Tremors. And I think that any person in the world will agree that Tremors is a perfect movie. The Gate does have some issues, like especially now in the terrible year of 2022. But this one I feel like because of that like fit us a little bit more than Tremors. And this is like one of the early I couldn't tell you when I actually like how old I was when I saw this movie for the first time, but this is one of the earlier ones that I remember watching, and it's scaring the absolute shit out of me because there are multiple things
Saying
that
hey.
I fear to a little demon. There are multiple things in this movie that I hold deep fears of. One, first of all, obviously, spoilers. If you haven't seen this movie, you absolutely should. So go watch it first. But there is multiple holes into the earth. No, thank you. There's a person in the walls. Absolutely not. There's a
hand eyeball.
There is, I call it hand time. Hand o'clock. It's also, the little demon guys scared the absolute shit out of me. Like, the very first time.
They seem nice.
They're always saying, hey.
Like little slapstick guys.
I don't think
Put the Bulk and Skull music from Power Rangers to them. It's delightful.
Okay, I was like that, but there's something about their eyes that just really freaked me out, and the fact that they're tiny.
Open mouth.
And the mouth breathing. So when she opens the window and he's like peering in with his hands on the glass, and he's just like, I was like,
That's amazing.
Terrified.
That's the best part of the movie.
So
he's just like, hey.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Every time they keep popping out, they're like, hey. I was like, what?
And they're like,
not to interrupt real quick, but I hadn't seen this in probably like a decade, so I forgot a lot of it.
Yeah.
And like the first time one of them said, hey, I lost my fucking mind.
So I just remember it being one of those movies that like scared the shit out of me when I was little, and then once I started rewatching it, it's become kind of a comfort movie. And like I said, it also has some really great tropes of devil music being played backwards on vinyl. Gotta love it. I don't watch it constantly. This is probably like every year or every other year I watch it.
Like the idea of you having a movie you watch literally all the time.
I have a lot of, not so much in my current situation, but there have been movies where I literally watch them every single day.
I did that with Hot Rod like a couple months ago. Like I watched it like 5 times in one day.
Yeah, like literally. And so I also just found out that my brother and sister-in-law have not seen Hot Rod, and so we're gonna make them watch it because I was like, I will try my very best to just like not say any of the lines before they happen or as they happen. But wow, are you buckle up because you are in for it. Yeah. So I don't know. I just thought this movie is kind of weird. It's not really like. I can't think of another reason why we would be able to like do it. So this is like perfect. And
we
I
all
feel
like Gates. Gates are pretty cool.
Love Gates. I feel like it also was one that like kind of made a resurgence because I can't remember if it was Fright Rags or Cavity Colors did like merch for them a couple of years ago, and I kind of like brought the movie back. You know, people are talking about it now, and then of course the Blu-ray releases or whatever. So I don't know. If you haven't seen it, what are you doing?
Alex Winter was supposed to do like 3D remake of it like 7 or 8 years ago that I guess just kind of fell by the wayside. And I was so curious to see what he was going to do with it.
Call him up. Ask him what's going on.
Yeah.
What gives?
Bill, what the hell?
Your best friend, Alex Winter. Also, I just have to say, to age myself here, 1987 is the year I was born. So any movie that came out that year, automatically the best.
I will go on a limb and say I think this is a better movie than The Monster Squad. As far as kids horror.
Oh my god.
Absolutely.
I don't know why, but for some reason, I was thinking about the year, and I thought you were going to say The Lost Boys, and I was going to say, I'm hanging up now.
Honestly, I feel like I would rewatch this more than The Lost Boys. I like The Lost Boys, but it's not like a favorite of mine. Like, it's not one of those ones like everyone else where it's like, all they ever want to fucking talk about is the saxophone guy and shit. Like, I like Alex Winter in it, and that's roughly it.
Hey. You leave saxophone guy out of this, okay?
He's fine, but like, God, man, like I'm so tired of seeing fucking.
People are very thirsty for him right now.
Can you blame them?
Yes. He's not Alex Winter with a mullet. Be thirsty for Alex Winter with a fucking mullet.
His outfit in that movie.
The coolest.
If
I would have saw that when I was a kid, that's all I would have dressed like as a teenager. Even though it was like 1997, 98 when I was in like high school.
I love Monster Squad, and obviously there's a lot of reasons that that's a great movie, but I didn't grow up watching that one, so to me, I like The Gate more also, just because.
I like Monster Squad, but it's one of those ones that I just like, I don't know. I feel like almost a lot of the rest of the kids horror stuff from that era I find to be way better, but everyone's like obsessed with Monster Squad.
Wolfman's Got Nards, really the big selling point.
I mean, it's that, like that, and like I'm tired of the fucking Stephen King Rules T-shirt, or like people doing the like their own version of it that's like some other thing, like their podcast name or fucking what, I don't know. I won't get into Monster Squad.
I feel you on that. But
other than the fact that the creature from the Black Lagoon guy in that movie looks cool as hell.
Yeah, and I think this is more of like Monster Squad is very much like a comedy, and while The Gate is not actually super dark. Oh, also very, very big trigger warning for animal cruelty in this one.
Yeah, did you see my review on Letterboxd?
Yeah,
he comes back.
Yeah,
I mean, it's pretty graphic.
I took a whole star off my review for the treatment of Angus's body in this movie.
Yeah, yeah. And
they dropped that fucking dog on the body on the ground. I was like, fuck this movie.
Yeah, no. And super trigger warning if you're gonna watch it like with kids or something. It is a little bit graphic.
Also, language. There's a lot of gay slurs in this movie that I did not remember.
I didn't either,
but
and
it's
I
also
feel like
87, so.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are some trigger warnings in it, obviously, but it's not like a comedy, right? So, like, while it's not super, super dark, it's also just, like, I don't know, more serious. I feel like...
That's the thing I think I appreciate the most about it, is that it's not, like a lot, like, you know, like Monster Squad is very much, like, it's got scary moments in it for a kid, but it's a lot more, like, jokey. And this, like, I feel like if I had watched this when I was, like, 6 or 7, like, when it came out, it would have terrified the shit out of me.
Yeah. So I definitely saw Pumpkinhead before I saw this one, but I feel like this one was one of the ones that I saw that was like more of my gateway into it, but I was like still very much at the age where I was like getting scared to the point where I couldn't sleep. So like
I think I've talked about it on here. Like my first 2 interactions with horror movies was walking out in the living room as Pennywise pulls the fucking kid into the sewer while my parents were watching the miniseries, and then my dad letting me watch Child's Play when it came to VHS. I was like, this like, yeah, these fucked me up for a while. Those are the last 2 things a kid needs to see.
Yeah. So, I love that, like, while Pumpkinhead, I obviously I picked it for a bonus episode. It's not like a comfort movie. I've only seen it like maybe 2 or 3 times. This one I feel like was the first one that like scared the shit out of me, but then I learned to just like really love it, and now it's one of my favorites. So I guess you could say it was a gateway movie for me.
Off the podcast. Did they ever release this as like a duo pack? Because I went to try to like watch the sequel, and like I couldn't find it anywhere to watch.
No, because Vestron got the rights to do the Blu-ray for the first, and then Scream Factory had the rights to do the second one.
I don't think I've ever seen the sequel, and so I was like curious because I saw that like
it's fine.
I saw the only person that comes back is Terry. Which rules, because, like, Terry's the best part of this movie, just fucking moshing around his bedroom to the worst metal band I've ever heard.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either, and also couldn't find it, so...
Yeah, I was like, when I, like, the last episode we did, I assumed this was one of those ones that just, like, made it to YouTube, and apparently it did not. But it also seems like people don't like it, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I liked it. It's good. I think this was my rating and review was kind of a joke. Like, this is a solid 4 out of 5 for me. Like, it's very good. I just wanted to make the 3-star. Where I was like, my review on Letterboxd was taking off a whole star because of the treatment of Angus's body.
I mean,
Um,
fair. I'll back you on it.
I love like the stop motion like holds up. Like it honestly like
It
it's
does.
goofy,
It doesn't
but
even
like
stop.
it
It's
like
just motion.
it like especially the ones where it's kind of shot from like farther away. Like when the
Hmm.
big demon comes out, but all the little demons are like crawling out of that hole in like the living room or wherever it is. Like it looks good. Like a lot of stop
I'm
motion looks really fucking cheesy at this point, and this stop motion like holds up.
I'm convinced the little guys are real.
Yeah, same.
That's what I'm saying. I think they are. I think they are. The only scene that I noticed looked a little funky, and literally this specific watching of it is the first time that I've noticed it, was when the second time the great demon pops out and like grabs Glenn and like throws him around. He's also stop motion,
Yeah.
and I never noticed it until this watching, and I was like, well, that doesn't look great, but everything else is pretty good.
And that one's so brief. It's like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, that's the
Literally,
thing is
yeah.
like the special effects in this movie are so good. Like
Crazy.
it's like there's movies made now with bigger budgets that look infinitely worse than this does. Like it
Texas
holds
Massacre.
up really well.
Yeah, it
Like
does.
even just coming down to like I like just the smoke, like the fog and shit getting sucked into the hole while they're like interacting with it.
Oh, that shit's wild.
Like,
I was watching it this time and was like, how did they make that look like
yeah,
that?
like I'm sure there's a very simple explanation, but like the way like it almost looks like two different shots. Like where like now it would have been they just CGI'd the characters on a green screen into that scene
Yeah.
because it's wild. I don't know. I don't know who did the effects on this. I didn't look it up, but like they did a fucking great job.
Yeah.
I'm trying. Yeah, it's Randall William Cook, visual effects. Oh well,
All
Randy
right.
Cook.
when did all three Lord of the Rings movies
Okay.
and Q the Winged Serpent and Fright Night. So he's got some.
Oh man.
I mean, I don't like
All
Lord of the
What a
Rings, but
king.
those movies look fucking great. So that's
Yeah.
quite a fucking catalog there. And he directed
Yeah.
Demon in the Bottle from 1996. I don't know what this is, but it looks terrible. Looks like a very shitty Captain Hook Peter Pan ripoff.
Oh shit. Did he not do the special effects though?
No, he just directed. He only has
Trash.
one other movie than those ones I listed. A movie called Deathline, that Tibor Takakis. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. The guy who directed The Gate. Good old Tibor.
Tibor. Yeah, I don't know. Tibor.
Rut-
Tibor.
Rutger Hauer's in it, and Iron Chef.
Ooh.
Mark Dukakis, whose name I still don't know how to pronounce. So
No
I'm assuming
idea.
this is good. I'm gonna add this to my watch list too. It's on Tubi.
All right. I'm excited.
Yeah, let's get into The Gate.
Okay. So this movie starts with a child riding his bike in a neighborhood. The child is our main character, Glenn, who is baby Stephen Dorff. Who knew?
It's weird seeing him as a child because like you see Steven Dwarf, but also like he kind of he looks very different. I think. But
Yeah, and it's funny because like I've seen this movie countless amounts of times, but I for some reason have never looked at the cast. And I always thought he looked vaguely familiar, but also like I said, never looked it up. And then Chris, my husband, loves Stephen Dorff, and then I was like, have you ever seen this movie? Because I realized, obviously that's who that was. And I was like, it's got Stephen Dorff in it. And he was like, no, I've never heard of it. And so I'm really excited to show it to him because he's so young.
yeah, I don't know if I remembered that he was in this until I watched it this time, and I was like, well, that's weird.
Yeah, weird. Also, Jennifer Irwin and Kelly Rowan are both in it too.
I don't
So-
know who is that. Jennifer Rowan. I don't know if Oh,
Kelly Rowan is the
holy
mom from the
shit.
OC.
I can't tell you how much I watched the My Pet Monster videotape as a child. I had one of the dolls. Like I was obsessed with My Pet Monster, so I've definitely seen this.
Very,
Wow,
yeah,
that just
they're very cool.
Took me back.
Yeah, also, like, the reason she's in other things, like, she's in Hook, she's in, like, some other stuff, but I know her because she's the mom in the OC.
Oh, Jennifer Irwin from
Um,
Superstar. Could
yeah.
have just said that.
Well, you didn't let me finish.
Well, you should have led with Superstar. What are you doing?
Yeah,
Mortuary collection. Blah.
so here we go. So Steven Dorff is riding his bike around the neighborhood. And he goes inside a house. He's calling for his family. He's like, Mom, Dad. Oh. He hears giggling upstairs. And he goes up there. He's scared, obviously. There's giggling happening. And he opens the bedroom door. It's all like spooky looking. And he sees a rocket called the Thunderbolt. Downstairs, the TV turns on. He hears it, so he goes down there to investigate. The kitchen's looking like super creepy too, and the back door just like opens by itself, and he's like, okay, that's weird. And he's walking across the yard, and he hears someone going, Papa. Actually, probably they said Papa, but I like Papa.
Same.
It's all dark and stormy and being lightning now. And he climbs up to a treehouse where he finds a doll. The doll was the one going, Pop, Papa. And then lightning strikes the tree that the treehouse is in, and it falls, and he screams. But it's okay, because it was just a dream. But it is weird, because he wakes up to the sound of a crew removing the tree that has fallen in his yard. So he dreamt it, but it actually happened.
Spooky.
Yeah. He goes out there. They're like cutting the tree up to take it away or whatever. And he goes out there and he's just like looking around like, what the fuck? And so they remove the tree stump from the ground, and a beautiful amethyst geode falls out. And it's like fucking huge. There's also a really big spooky hole that was left by the tree stump. So then we cut.
It's weird that
Carrie.
nobody's concerned about this hole that apparently just goes down to hell in the fucking ground.
Well, I don't think they see it yet, because the tree removal people. Okay, so it cuts to Terry, who is Glenn's best friend. The tree removal people have filled in the hole, and the kids are digging it back up because they're trying to find more geodes. Because Terry says that they can sell them for $100.
You get a big one, it'll be $100. I was like, I've seen the price of these. I feel like even in 1987, it wasn't $100.
That's not true.
I mean, actually, some pieces I don't look. As of the last couple of years, you can get a lot of money for amethysts, like as big as they had them. They sell for like thousands.
That's
of
what I
dollars.
mean. Like,
yeah.
I think the last time Caitlin came to visit me in Ohio before I moved to New Jersey, we went to Ohio Caverns, and they had all of those. All of the ones you could buy, and they had like just ones that were like even roughly the size. Just I don't know what geodes they were, like what the actual things in them are, because I don't know crystals and rocks and shit. But like they were all like $700, $800. They had one of those ones that's like as tall as like a 5-foot person or whatever. That was like thousands of dollars.
Them.
That I was like, I'm not gonna go anywhere near this because I will knock it over.
Yeah. I would kill for one the size of what they found in this movie. Holy shit.
Yeah.
So anyways, so they're like redigging. They're like literally picking up the pieces of like carpet or grass carpet to like dig back in the hole to find more geodes or whatever. And Terry's foot kind of just like goes down into the hole and like basically. Although now that I'm thinking about it, if the hole literally does go down to hell. I'm not really sure how the tree removal company like covered it up. But
the first time they show it, the ground is still actively like sinking in, and everyone's just like, "Yeah, this is fine."
Yeah, it's not a sinkhole or anything. No need to be worried. Yeah. So he like punches his foot down through the dirt, and there's a hole now, and a bunch of bugs, like moths, come up from it, which. That's really not a good sign, in case you were wondering.
Yeah, that
if
means
you
a
have
demon's coming if there's moths near your house.
if you're having this problem in your yard. Glenn gets a really nasty splinter from the shovel, and he pulls out the splinter, and it's all bloody and shit, and he drops it into the hole. It's not a great idea. I also love the idea that these children, spoiler alert, just kind of like stumble their way into summoning fucking demons from the earth, like just very by accident.
I love the trope that this movie does. That's like where they're like reading how to summon a demon kind of as things are as it's happening. Like they're like, well, it needs a sacrifice, and it's like the dude showing up as they're talking about it with Angus.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I like that kind of dumbass trope a lot for some reason.
That's what I'm saying. It's just like every single thing had to go exactly right for this to happen, and like it fucking did. Who knew? You could just be going around your life summoning demons you didn't even know.
Oh shit! My phone fucking just turned on.
That was the demon like Nathan summoned.
Fucking like just like opened my phone and an ad was playing.
Sounded like Keyboard Cat. He's speaking to us from the grave. So yeah, he drops his bloody splinter into the hole. Immediately they hear squawking from down in the hole. That's great.
Normal.
Squawk. Terry pulls out a fucking huge geode, and it's like the size of a baby. It's fucking huge. And as they find this geode,
I don't know why, but there's been like a bunch of stuff like lately hitting like my Twitter feed about people complaining about news articles that just use the fucking worst things to like relate size and like scale to. Like there was a thing I think today or yesterday that was like a meteor about half the size of giraffe hit like somewhere off the coast of wherever, and it's like shit like that. And I don't know why, like you relating it to the size of a baby just made me think of that.
Well, yeah, because there's plenty of things that are half the size of a giraffe that you could like pick to describe it.
One that was like a sinkhole about the size of like 3.5 washers and dryers or some shit. Like, just use like the fucking metric system already. Come on.
Listen, I appreciate that because I don't know measurements, and I need to know how many garbage cans across the ocean is.
Be like Kevin Smith and just relate everything to the size of Bruce the Shark in Jaws.
Yeah, I need that. That's what I need. Yeah, so just then, Glenn's sister Al, who's Alexandria?
Yeah,
Alexandra?
So.
Same name.
One of those names.
He calls her Al, so I just called her Al the whole time. Comes out, and she's like throwing away a bunch of her toys. Glenn is upset because she's thrown away some rockets that she said that they would launch together. He's like obsessed with rockets, and he's obsessed with this one called the Thunderbolt that he dreamt about. And she says she's thrown it away, and he's like upset. And then Al leaves to go shopping with her friends, and Terry is just like, "Why do you care anyway?" And Glenn is just like, "Oh, well, I can't launch rockets by myself anymore because I caught the roof on fire," which seems fair.
As someone who has done something along those lines, fair.
Yeah, and then he's like, "I need supervision," and then Terry is like, "I'll supervise you," which made me laugh really hard because they're both children.
It's a good friend.
This is when we see a bunch of moths kind of shoot out of the pit. The hole. I go back and forth between calling it the hole and the pit, but it is,
I mean, it's the same thing.
The hole.
I guess it would be a hole because a pit, I think, implies that there's like an ending to it.
Well, there is a ending to the pit.
Yeah, hell.
It's hell. Well, anyways, you know what I mean. And Terry catches a bunch of the moths in a jar because he wants to put them on the rocket and shoot them into space, which is mean. But the rockets got
I don't know
wet.
if I caught that that's what they were trying to do.
Well, he caught them in a jar, and he said something like unwilling passengers or something like that. So like, yeah. And then Glenn's like, oh, well, the rockets got wet, so we can't shoot them off anyways. And then Terry is like, wonder how long they'll survive without air. And I was like, oh my, young boys are the fucking scariest thing on in the world, I think.
Yeah. At least in this period. I don't know about anymore, but
they better not be.
I trust me. I relate to this Terry kid a lot.
Oh my god.
I mean, I was not like, I was
out.
even as a kid was like very conscious of like animals and like creatures, but like I did definitely stupid shit like accidentally catching a house that was being built on fire and shit like that. So
something tells me that Terry did not grow up to be a vegan, so I think you're probably fine. So this is when Glenn's dad discovers that they've redug up the pit, and he goes inside and they're having dinner, and basically their parents are talking about how they're going away for the weekend and maybe they should call a babysitter. And Al is like, I'm 16, I'm about to be 16, like I can watch him in the house and like don't worry about it, and convinces the parents not to call a babysitter. And also Glenn is grounded for having dug up the yard, which seems stupid because they could just fill it back in, but
I
whatever.
do appreciate that, like, the little amount of time the parents are in this movie. Like, I feel like there was a thing at this point that, like, parents in these kind of movies were just, like, just wild assholes to their kids for shit like that. And, like, I do like that he's just like, I don't know, just he's grounded for a little bit, I guess, but also his friend could still come over. Like, I appreciate that they didn't go with the trope of just the dad just being, like, a relentless fucking dickhead about his kids doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like Glenn has a lot of rules, but he caught a house on fire, so maybe
he caught his own house on fire, so there's probably a reason for it.
So not only is he grounded for the weekend, but he also has to fill the pit back in, which fair. So at bedtime, his dad comes in to, you know, say goodnight and turn off the light, and he's scared about it. And
do you think this movie was like, I'm just now thinking about like this in relation to like Psycho Goreman.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was like, I don't know if I ever heard like Kostansky talk about the gate or not. Now I'm interested.
I don't know that I have either. I don't know if I have either. But when I was watching Psycho Goreman for the first time, I don't know if I said it when we were talking about the movie, like in the actual episode, but I got like major vibes from that. So I wouldn't be surprised at all, because it's got the same kind of like mentality where it's just like these things are happening to children. They're kind of just like, well, okay, let's just deal with it. You know what I mean? And then obviously the thing, it's causing like a crater or whatever.
It's like the gate, but like if the kids were just like, no, we're keeping this monster.
We're keeping the demons to be friends with. Like literally, Oh yeah, so that night, Glenn tells his dad that he's like scared of the dark now. He's like, well, he's freaked out of the pit because Terry said that when they were building their house, one of the workmen got killed, and in order to cover it up, they just like bricked him up in the wall. I thought that I mean, there's no way that hasn't happened, but like I was terrified of there being somebody in my wall after I saw this movie, until I was like old enough to realize like, okay, they're not going to come out of it. You know what I mean?
I would bet if you're like the people that live in those like mid-century kind of prior houses and shit, like that's probably sort of common. I can't imagine that's very common anymore, but
I would hope not.
If you live in an old house, there's probably bones in your walls.
100%. Of some
That's
sort.
the entirety of your house.
Yeah, your house
is made with bones.
Bone
pillars.
House.
Technically, the wood of your house is the bones of your house.
That is, figuratively and the other one.
Unfiguratively.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so he's scared because there's probably a guy in the wall. And his dad basically tells him that Terry is just fucking weird now because his mom died last year, so just like cut him some slack. And I was like, okay. But then as Glenn's trying to fall asleep, he hears scratching from underneath the bed. And he just goes to sleep, which I'm like, not I. I would have been awake for days. The next morning, the parents leave, and they're like, okay, yeah, be good. Like, give Angus his medicine. Don't have any parties. And immediately, Al has a really cool 80s party.
Party looked pretty fucking terrible to me.
It's funny because, like, she has the party, but then as everyone's, like, dancing and eating chips and shit, she's, like, cleaning up. And, like, I thought that was very funny because she's
15 in this movie. And, like,
yeah.
all of these kids, I'm assuming, have to be roughly her age, and they are all drinking, which drives me crazy.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
just like, where did they get this beer as 15-year-olds?
Their dad's
Or all of her friends are,
garage
like,
fridge.
22, which is also, like, even
Really?
more alarming.
Really good fake IDs.
Also, it was the 80s, so I feel like they didn't care as much. Everyone in this movie is wearing really, really cool, like, neon outfits, except for Terry, who is, like, the punk kid, so he's always wearing vests and, like, graphic tees. Fine. That's what I meant.
He's
what
got
did
a
I
killer
say?
dwarf patch on his back, which I do not believe is a real band.
I hope it is. And then Glenn, the main character, who is like typical dumpy boy who's just wearing like sweats the whole time, but like colored sweats, like blue sweats with like a red sweater, kind of like little brother thing.
I would like a prequel to how these two became friends.
Because they're both weird.
Stephen Dorff's character doesn't really feel like a weird to me. He feels like a normal fucking like 10-year-old or whatever age he's supposed to be. Like he's into model
like,
rockets and shit. Like that seems sort of normal.
Is it? That seems like a nerd thing to me.
I don't know. Kit makes fucking World of Warcraft shit or whatever now. So, what are you saying, Katie?
It's not
Warhammer, all right?
It's not World of Warcraft. I think that's a different level of. Anyways,
it's all the same to me.
He doesn't make them. He paints them. Okay.
Also, did you guys know that apparently, according to the first Doom, March 2022 is when it takes place?
Huh?
So
really?
We're living in the Doom times.
That explains a lot.
Feels like it.
I need to fucking fight a cacodemon soon or something.
Yeah.
You're gonna
find an imp. Make an imp friend.
God, I need a BFG gun so bad.
I'm just gonna go get a chainsaw.
I'm gonna find the blue key.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's happening? They're having a cool 80s party. Upstairs, Terry tries to crack the geode open, and they're just kind of like shooting the shit. Glenn starts banging on it with a hammer, and it's kind of like wobbling around. And he gets it to crack open, and it releases some smoke, and it's also glowing inside, which doesn't seem normal, but they are really stoked. As I said, it's the size of a baby. It's the size of 5 sticks of juicy fruit, and
that's not correct at all.
No, it's probably like 12.
Do they ever explain what this geode has to do with anything?
Not really.
I didn't think but
they just say that it has to do with the ritual. So no, they don't really explain why they need to have it.
I just got to the end of the movie and I was like, wait, I forgot this geode was even fucking part of it.
It's like whenever they're looking through the vinyl and they're reading about the ritual, it says that they have to, the geode is a part of it. I don't know if it's just you find it, so you having it gives you the power or something. They don't explicitly say what it's for.
Is it one of the the drawings, the demon just holding the geode up in the air, which just makes me think everybody that has a geode is a demon.
Little do you guys know that that's actually a drawing of me
when
I got my first geode. So, I
believe it.
So when they were knocking around the geode, it was rolling around on, I don't know what this thing is actually called, but it's a doodle pad. it's got like film over it, and you draw on it and it makes shapes, but then you can just like lift the film and the image goes away. I don't know if they still have those, but that's what it is. And so it rolling around on the doodle pad has like spelled out some kind of thing on it. And so they're looking at it, and of course Glenn reads it out loud. Why not?
God damn it, Glenn.
And
It's a big Bruce Campbell
like,
Evil Dead energy.
Like literally. And as he's reading it, Angus the dog is freaking out. And we see the pit, and the pit is no longer filled in. And it's also steaming. I also didn't understand like why the pit keeps like being filled in and then it's not, and then it is and then it's not. And I was like, well, that seems inconsistent. But
yeah, like as from the first time you see it, it's like the dirt is like sinking into it, and I just want to know where they keep getting the dirt to fill it in. I got
no idea.
This movie no longer holds up. I'm changing my star rating.
I'm not a professional pit filler, so I don't have answers for you. But
it's unbelievable. I thought you were.
I know. I lied on my resume. So Glenn and Terry read the thing, and then they're like, "Oh, nothing happened. Whatever." They sneak downstairs, and the big kids are telling ghost stories. And then one of the girls is just like, "Let's try levitation." And so I'm sure if you have been at a slumber party as a teenage girl, you played this game where you say light as a feather, stiff as a board, and you pretend like you're levitating somebody or whatever. And so they do it with Glenn, and it fucking works. He's like smashing up into the ceiling and busting the lights out and shit. And then he rips one off the wall too. And once he falls on the ground, he's like freaked out and he starts crying. So he is he is embarrassed and runs upstairs, and Al basically sends all of her friends home. Her and Terry go upstairs and like comfort him by telling him embarrassing things that have happened to them, and then they all go to bed. There's a bunch of moss on the window outside, and I don't like it. Basically, the light there's something about the sound of a bug zapper that is creepy to me, and so they've got one right outside his window. So it's like
when you worked at Target, did they have the big bug zappers at like the truck doors?
I don't know. I didn't. I was
every job I've had, like all the truck doors, they have these like big bug zappers by them, and like periodically you'll just be in the back and it'll be like quiet. You'll just hear like this giant zap that like scares the shit out of you.
I hate that. The sound, I fucking hate it. And they've got one like right below his window. So it's like, not only is it making a zapping sound, but it's like casting like a halogen light. And so there's like a bunch of moths on his window, and they're like being projected on the wall, and they're huge. And like as a child, I feel like I would be peeing my pants. That sounds so scary. And there's a bunch of moths on the window or whatever. And Glenn starts also hearing pounding on the walls. Absolutely not. Terry has got up to go to the bathroom, and when he comes out of the bathroom, he hears someone calling his name. And the front door, he's like, comes out of the bathroom, he's like on the landing or whatever. The front door blows open, and it's Terry's ghost mom, and she's like, "Come down here. I love you so much. I miss you." And he's like, "Oh, my mom." And so he goes downstairs, and he's like hugging her and like spinning around, and he's so happy. But then he pulls away, and it's actually just Angus. And again, trigger warning, where Angus has passed.
There's a pour one out moment. Best character in the movie.
And honestly, very cute. He's a very cute, like sheepdog looking guy. While that's happening, though, something is basically like pushing and moving around behind Glenn's wall, and it looks pretty cool. Because you can't really tell like what it is, but it's like moving. And when downstairs, Terry's mom turns into Angus, he screams. And so when Glenn hears that, he runs out of the room, and also Al comes, and that's when they see that Angus is dead. So the next morning, Terry, he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry about Angus." And he's like, "That's okay. He was 97 in people years. Like, he lived a long life and whatever." And Terry's going to go home but come back later. So poor Terry goes back to his house only to find out that his dad is gone on business, and also his house is a fucking mess. So I can only imagine that he is definitely being neglected, which is really sad. Glenn wants to call his parents to tell them about Angus and to tell them to come home, obviously, because he's upset. And Al is like, no, like, don't worry about it. Or like, I don't want to ruin their weekend. Like, we'll tell them when they come back or whatever. Then her friends come over, who are, like I said, Kelly Rowan and Jennifer Irwin. But they're like totally teenagers and they're very cute. They're very mean though. They're like super mean. Super mean girls.
Yeah, they're fucking terrible.
Over. They're so nasty to Glenn. But they come over, there's like a back and forth or whatever. So back at Terry's house, he is rocking out to some cool metal or whatever the fuck this is. And in the song starts like doing a chant, and I don't know what the chant was, but he's just like, from the time that man was created, we've been slaves to the, whatever. He's just like talking. And Terry is like lip syncing to it essentially, and like pretending that he's just like, I don't know, like a demon lord or something. And the vinyl is called The Dark Book, and it's basically talking about like demons behind a gate. And then there's also this part where the guy is talking and it sounds like gibberish. We know now, obviously, that it definitely just sounds like a guy talking backwards, like. But at the time, I definitely didn't know anything about it, so it was weird. Al's friends like want her to go to the beach with them and like leave Glenn behind, and Glenn's like, you can't go, and like also because of Angus, and like also are we going to talk about like when I was levitating last night and shit, it was scary. And they're just like, I don't know what you're talking about. Also, okay, and then they also asked Al's friend Eric to take Angus's body to the vet. And he's like, okay, yeah, I can do that. The girls are going to go to the mall for some munchies, and then they're all going to meet up and go to the beach. Which is sad. After they leave, Glenn is like looking at photo albums from when like him and Al used to be friends, which is sad. And under his bed is a present that he bought for her for her birthday, but he's mad at her, so he opens it, and it turns out to be what I thought was a rocket, but I guess it's actually like whatever mechanism you need to like launch a rocket. I don't know anything about toy rockets, so
yeah, I don't think I had them as a kid, but I remember in like a science class in like 7th or 8th grade we had to like make one, and I got all of this like the weird pole thing they have to like sit on and stuff. I remember all of that.
Yeah, so I think it's just like a thing to help it blast off, so to speak. I don't know.
Let's just be quiet.
The huh?
Trying to watch the
just
ogre,
silence
Katie.
the rest of the episode.
Oh. The end. That is the end of the movie.
Yeah, they blow that shit off a rocket at the end.
The electricity kind of like goes off or whatever, and then he goes downstairs to like investigate, and when he does, the back door opens by itself, which is really not great. No thank you. And he finds out that the crackling is the fucking bug zapper, and he sees that the pit is looking real scary, and he's like, oh shit. So he runs through the house to go find Terry. But Terry comes over and essentially is just like, hey, I know what's going on. You have demons. And so they basically just use like a side of the broken treehouse to cover the pit. And then they're like, this is probably fine. So Terry is showing Glenn like the vinyl, and they're looking through it, and he's basically just like, yeah, this is from Europe, and the album was written from the Demon Bible, and then after, all the lyrics are like the ritual to open the gate and to close it and stuff, and after the guys wrote it, they all died. And so like as a kid, I loved this because I loved this like stupid conspiracy theory type shit. I was just like, wow, that's crazy, because like I definitely thought it was real. And he's basically just talking about how like how to do the ritual, and in order to start, like, yeah, they mentioned the geode. Don't know why the geode matters at all. But then you need 2 sacrifices, and Angus was the first sacrifice. And then Glenn, like, kind of doesn't believe him. He's like, this is stupid. Also, like, Angus died of natural causes because he was old, and also, like, we didn't sacrifice him or anything. Meanwhile, this is being cut with fucking garbage-ass Eric, who has, like, gone to take Angus to the vet, but the vet is closed. So he just brings Angus's body back to the house, and nobody's home. So he throws Angus into the pit.
He also drops
which
Angus
is like,
out of his car.
yeah, which is like so fucking disrespectful and terrible, because now, well, obviously Kit already said he comes back at the end, but in theory, if you're Eric and you're doing this, you're I don't know, whatever. I hated it. I did not like it. Terry and Glenn go back to the house, and he's like, okay, well, whatever, I don't really believe you, but we might as well just like try and like do the ritual to close the gate again. So they go back to try and close it, and this is when Alice shows up, and she's like, what are you doing back here? And they're basically just like, we accidentally summoned demons who used to rule the world. And she's like, what? And they're like,
oops,
let's just like yeah, I don't like what's underneath the wood or whatever. And so they've like said whatever they're supposed to say to like close the gate or whatever. And this is when they lift up the boards and the pit is gone. And I was like, seems weird, but sure. And then Glenn is like, I thought you were going to the beach. And she's just like, oh, I was, but I spent all my money. And it turns out that she has bought him a rocket instead of going to the beach, which is so sweet. And but then when they're walking away from the pit, the little like lock on the door starts like jiggling around, and I was like,
real bad there wasn't a scene where the door just like flips open.
And you know what's weird? Like, in my memory, I thought it did, but it definitely doesn't. So Terry continues to like read about how to open the gate or whatever. And essentially they're talking about how it also needs 2 earthly sacrifices, and also the gate can only be closed basically through an act of love or some shit. So they launch the rocket that Al just bought, and they're all having fun and stuff. And then later Al's friends come over and for a sleepover, and they're bitches, of course. Meanwhile, Glenn and Terry get I don't know what they're doing. They like go into their parents' closet to like get something. They find their dad's gun, which not great, but it's fine.
It's the 80s. And
yeah,
the
and
2020s.
Yeah, I mean, honestly. They also find the Thunderbolt, which Al said she threw away, but she didn't, because he finds it and he's really, really excited about it. Oh my god.
Who's talking? What do they think about the gate?
Chris just came to the other side of the garage and scared the shit out of me. He hasn't seen it yet. Did he just walk in and just go, hey? No, he went by, which I was in the middle of talking, so he should have just shut up.
Keep going. I have to go get a water before I start coughing all over the place.
Okay, Kit. You got a lot of stuff to make up for. That night, Glenn falls asleep while reading about the Dark Lord, which seems like a bad idea.
Come on.
Scary.
How are you gonna say Satan's boring? Like, you're just gonna hurt his feelings.
I know.
And he's gonna ruin you.
And something happens really bad after that too. So can't be doing that. So because he's like reading, he falls asleep. But meanwhile, something is creeping up the stairs, and I'm gonna be honest. The shadow it's casting looks kind of more like a Wolfman situation. It's not, but Glenn wakes up, and because he hears a noise, and there's like moths all over the window again, and he gets up to like go pull down the curtain or like the shade or whatever, and then the window just explodes inward, and the moths are fluttering all over the place, which seems really terrifying. He's like screaming. He runs to get Al.
That's too many moths.
There's a
Like
lot of them.
one is fine, but like I don't know. We start getting into like 3 or 4 territory. It's like, okay, y'all fuck off.
Well, there's so many moths that them flapping their wings exploded his glass window. So that's
like 200 billion moths.
It's like 6 moths. What are you talking about?
I wonder the velocity of wings. Like, is that possible? I need Mythbusters to come up and try this out.
They should do it. They should.
Mothbusters.
I want just one season of Mythbusters where it's just them, like, busting the most random thing from like 80s horror movies.
I would love that so much.
How many moths
amazing.
banging their wings would shatter a window?
If you pull someone's eye out with a hook, does it stay stuck out, like in the air, or what is going on here?
Is an ogre scarier if it's dressed like William Shakespeare?
Or not? Let's find out. Or if he's naked, I don't know. Yeah. So he goes to get Al, and he's just like, "Oh my God, look!" And she's like, "This isn't good." And meanwhile, Terry is basically, they like come in. She's like, "Terry, wake up! Terry, wake up!" I'm like, "Yeah. How didn't Terry fucking wake up to a window exploding?" And they're like shaking him. Except Terry comes in behind them, and it's just like, "What's going on?" And when they lift up the cover, it's poor dead Angus.
Where the fuck was Terry at?
He was in the bathroom again already, I guess. he's got a small bladder.
Small bladder gang. What up?
Yeah.
Terry just lives off like soda, so he's just got to pee constantly.
Pissing
Soda
all the
and,
time.
like, leftover pizza crust, essentially. He is rail thin too, so that's all he's got. This scene with Angus is a little graphic too, so very sad. Then something underneath the bed reaches out and grabs them, and it's like a whole thing. I don't know what that thing was supposed to be, but it kind of did look like a turd monster, if you ask me.
It's the rest of the thing that pops out of Elvira's soup.
They get free and run, and they're joined by Al's friends. They run downstairs and like run outside, and then Al and Glenn's parents arrive, and they're like, "Oh my God, thank God!" And Glenn like runs up, and the dad is like sounding all demony and basically like, "Hi, Polly."
I don't remember that being in the movie.
Hi, Polly.
Yeah.
Polly, you are soaking wet. Why are you running around in the rain, girl? Aw. Oh my God, she's soaked. She's slapping me with her wet tail. I'm sorry. Why don't let you lay down? I think she likes the rain, actually, which is really weird. Yeah, the dad's like, "You've been bad," and his voice is all demony sounding, and he like picks Glenn up, and then Glenn's like, "Oh no!" And then his dad's face melts off, and then also his head falls off, and I was like, "Looks pretty cool."
Typical dads.
Yeah. If it's not your face, it's your whole head falling off. And then they're like, "Oh my God," and they run back inside, and immediately the power goes out, and all the doors upstairs start slamming and shit. And so they run into the kitchen, and they're like, I don't know why they decide they're going to try to go out the back door, but Al goes out there first to kind of like check it out. And this is when we meet the little fucking demon guys that scared me as a child, because they're very small, and they're just like little demon guys, but their faces are kind of pulled out, so they're like always, like we said, open mouth breathing, and they have these huge eyes that are just like kind of like alien eye. They're kind of like little alien demon looking things.
They
like,
look really similar to another movie, and I couldn't place what it is.
I don't know, but he's freaky. They're outside like babada-boobada-bob, right?
No,
and she doesn't notice.
Hey.
She doesn't notice them at first because they're like, they like come up to your knee, maybe almost. They're like very tiny, but there's a lot of them. And then one of her friends like opens the curtains to the window outside, and one of them's just like pressed against the glass and like mouth breathing, and that scene scared the shit out of me when I was little. And then they're like, demons or whatever. And Al runs inside and like slams the door, and like the demons are obviously trying to get in or whatever. And they actually shut the door on one of the demon's arms, and it kind of like flails around for a little bit, and then it just falls off and turns into like, I don't know, worms, and then like slithers underneath the door, which
it rules.
Not great. Yeah, I wrote turns into little wormies.
I found somebody that
then
has
the
a bunch
phone
of these
rings.
little guys tattooed on them on Google Images.
Amazing. Somebody has a pin of them that I want. Like I said, I can't remember if it's Cavity Colors or Fright Rags, but one of them has like the merch, or used to. The phone rings and Al answers it, and it's just the demon guy going, "You've been bad," which is gross. And then the phone catches on fire and melts off the wall. Again, terrifying. Terry is like, "Oh, we have to go back to the pit and do this spell right. Like we didn't do it right." And but the spell book is in the basement, so they are all going to go to the basement to get the spells. They find the album, but it also immediately bursts into flames. So they decide that they're going to read from the Bible instead, because Al's friends went to Sunday school. Sure. Terry, Glenn, and Al go to the gate while her friends stay inside, and there's this like pink light coming from inside, and it's also like thundering and stuff in the sky, of course, as always. And this is when there's like a bunch of she's so cute. There's a bunch of fog coming out of it, and then Terry starts like reading from the Bible, just like reading verses from the Bible, and the fog kind of starts sucking back into the pit, and they're like, yay, it's working. But of course, Terry falls into the pit before he can finish reading, and he falls down, and then the little demons start coming out. This is when one of them's like, this is when they're saying, hey.
It's so good. Real
But
quick,
basically,
I think the thing I was thinking about that these demons look like is the elf from Elves.
yeah, I can see that for sure.
I think only because neither of their mouths or eyes move.
Yeah, I can see that. So they're popping out, and they basically just start like biting Terry, which is terrible. And he's like, oh no. And there's like this whole scene of him like trying to climb back up the pit, and they're like grabbing onto him and shit. And he ends up getting back up and starts to try to like read from the Bible, but it's not really working. So he's just like, forget it. And he throws the Bible into the pit, and it explodes. Then when they kind of all, black out or whatever, I guess, I don't know. And then when they get back up, the gate is covered over again, and it looks normal. So they're like, yay, and they're like excited and stuff. And then they go inside to like find the girls and be like, everything's fine. But when they get inside, the front door is wide open, and they're like spooked about it. But it's just because Al's friends have invited a bunch of boys over to have a party, and Al is just like, no. I just saw a bunch of demons, so I think not. You need to go home. So she kicks them all out. Also, like, the thing that I noticed this time is, like, her two friends definitely saw the demons, and then we're just like, okay, let's go party. Like, nothing even actually happened, which I would personally be scarred for the rest of my life. But that's just me. They basically talk about how to explain the window that the moths broke, and then the boys decide that they're going to stay up and watch TV instead of going to bed, because now they're, that's their little treat for saving the world, to watch some TV. Then they talk about, okay, this part also terrified me. They're just like chilling, watching TV, talking about if they're going to sell the geode or not, and then a dead body just like busts through the wall. And Terry is just like, oh my God, I made that story up. About it's the workman, right? And at first they're looking at it and he kind of just looks like actually a dead body, but it turns out that he is alive because he grabs him and pulls him into the wall and then the hole disappears. No, that's terrifying. The whole house is so of course Glenn is like freaking out, right? The whole house is all smoky and shit. There's now like writing and symbols like in blood on the wall, and Glenn is like yelling for Al. She is looking in the mirror like after getting cleaned up or whatever, and we see that the zombie is like watching her from inside the mirror. Forget about it. And then he busts through, and Al, but then Al hits him in the face with a boombox, which honestly looked like it would hurt really bad. And he falls over and explodes into a bunch of the tiny little demons. So they just were having a mess around. It wasn't actually a zombie.
Pretty sure it was.
Al and Glenn leave the bedroom and lock all the little demons inside. And Glenn runs downstairs to get his dad's gun to shoot the little demons. And Terry pops out looking like a little rat boy and bites Glenn's hand. And he's like, help, and like screaming for Al. And she ends up leaving, she was holding the door so that the demons couldn't get out, but she ends up leaving the door to like come down and help him. And she stabs Terry in the eye with a Barbie doll leg. Also seems like it would hurt pretty hard.
Yeah,
pretty
that sounds
bad.
terrible.
And the demons have broken out of the room and like followed her downstairs, and so they're like shut in the closet now. And then the fucking workman guy pops out again, and even though they like managed to shoot him in the eye, but it doesn't really work, and he steals Al, takes her into the fucking wall too. And turns out she's the second human sacrifice. And then the floor in the foyer area outside of the closet starts busting apart. Glenn runs upstairs as a second hole into the earth opens underneath their house. And Glenn finds this, like, the birthday card that he had made for Al and realizes that, like, he needs to be brave and like use his love for her and his friend to like save them or whatever. So he's gonna go get the Thunderbolt in order to defend himself. The Thunderbolt, again, is the rocket.
Is like Thor.
Yeah, an actual Thunderbolt.
Like Led Zeppelin starts playing.
Glenn's hair gets really long and he headbangs. More demons come out of the ground, out of the new hole. And they start dancing around. They're really excited because the great big demon, pops out. He's pretty cool. He's like huge. He's like as tall as the house coming out of the hole. He's kind of like a little snake guy. He also like looks like the demons, but he's got like 4 eyes and like 2 sets of ears and like two sets of arms, maybe. I don't know. He's pretty cool. And Glenn is scared. They kind of just stared at each other for a little bit. And Glenn tries to like run away a little bit, and the demon like reaches over and like slams on the ground to stop him. And then the demon grabs Glenn by the hand and like stares at him a little bit, and then drops him and just like pieces out. And this is it's hand o'clock, because when Glenn looks at his hand, there's a fucking eyeball on the palm, and he's sad about it, which honestly I might be too.
I don't know. It seems pretty cool. I'd like to have eyes in both of my hands.
Seems like it would be really sensitive to do anything.
They just put glasses over
That's
them.
why you use your feet.
Yeah. You just
put glasses over
just
them.
Go grocery shopping and start grabbing stuff with your toes.
Yeah.
What if
the
you
foot
had
but the hand of the leg?
I can't argue with you there, but what if you also had eyes on your feet?
Well, that's just weird.
So, But I also can't tell, like, is he looking out of it? Is the demon looking through it? Like, I don't really understand the eye thing, but let me tell you, it freaked me out as a kid. Yeah, he's sad. He cries about it a little bit, which is fine. Glenn looks outside, like through his bedroom window, and sees that there's basically like a black tornado coming out of the pit now because the pit's back. I don't understand really.
Just having a pig roast.
And gross. And it's turning the sky black, essentially. It's like funneling up into the sky and like turning the whole sky black. Glenn has a good cry about it on the floor, which I probably would too. And then he finds the doll on the floor from his dream that was saying, "Papa, Papa." And he also finds the jar of moths and, excuse me, I have to cough really bad.
She died.
R.I.P. Katie.
I'm just getting really emotional.
Into the show.
Yeah, Katie gets emotional. Black tornadoes.
Yeah, the hand on the palm really just reminds me of being a child, you know. So he sees the doll, which I assume it's supposed to be Al's doll, right? And the jar of moss represents his psychopath friend Terry Nathan. And he gets brave and he's like, come back and take me instead. So he's going to sacrifice himself in a final act of pure love, or whatever the fuck the ritual said. Then he takes a piece of the glass that broke from the window and stabs his hand eye with it. Now his shit is getting real messed up. The house is falling apart. There's like furniture flipping everywhere and shit. And he finds the Thunderbolt rocket. So he finds whatever the thing was that he was giving to Al for her birthday that helps launch the rocket or whatever. And then he jumps down the stairs, which have come apart. So he just like jumps down into his living room or whatever. He can hear like Al yelling up through the hell pit, like, help me. And so he sets up the rocket and, but batteries are not included. God, story of my life. So he's like trying to take the batteries out of the flashlight as the Demon King returns and basically is like staring at him all scary. But he gets it and he launches the rocket directly at him, and it kind of just like goes inside him. And at first you kind of can't really tell, like, did it work? Did it not? Like, he's not really sure. The demon's really pissed. But then he explodes. Woof. Glenn is basicly, the explosion launches him out through the front door, which also looked kind of hilarious. I guess I skipped it. This is the part where the demon picks Glenn up and like tosses him around a little bit and then throws him over towards the front door, and then he explodes and he goes like launching out. And I thought it was funny.
I really like the effect of like the rocket going in to the demon, but then like the like you slowly start seeing like the light from, I guess, like an explosion inside of the demon before it explodes. I think it looks really good.
Yeah, because like I said, the way it's timed, it's like you can't really tell. It kind of looks like the demon just absorbed it, and you're like, well, that sucks. What's he gonna do? So it's like delayed a little bit, because then there's the explosion, and he gets thrown out through the front door onto the lawn, and then it's because the Thunderbolt had fireworks inside of it. So now the fireworks are like shooting up through the roof, I assume, and lighting up the sky, and basically the tornado that was turning the sky black gets sucked back into the pit and reveals that the sky is clear and it's sunrise now. The house is like super fucked up still. And so Glenn goes inside. He's just kind of like looking around like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? But it's a happy ending because Al, Terry, and Angus come out from the closet and they're all fine and they hug and stuff. And then they just kind of like sit on the front stoop and wait for their parents to come home. Like, what the fuck are we going to tell them? Because there's a huge hole in the ground still, and the house is literally in shambles. And then earlier when Glenn was coming out of the pit, he had lost one of his shoes, and Angus digs it up in the backyard and brings it to him. And it's the
Good
end.
boy.
Such a good
I
boy.
wish this movie had the same ending that Spider-Man Homecoming does, which, like, spoiler, I guess, like, when Spider-Man's in, like, or, you know, Peter Parker's in his room with the Spider-Man outfit on, and Aunt May just comes in, and it just is like, what the fuck? And it just, like, cuts off to the credits. I wish the parents just came home, and that's, like, how it ended. The parents just like, what the fuck happened
What
here?
the fuck? Yeah. Yeah, it would have been funny.
Because they're going to come home and just murder those kids.
I mean, yeah, honestly, there's definitely no way to explain,
First,
like, what do you even say?
First you catch the house on fire, then you have a party that, like, has a hole down to hell in it now.
Yeah, right. So yeah, that's The Gate.
Yeah, The Gate.
Again, not perfect, but very fun.
It's very good. Like, it's a solid 4 out of 5 star movie, I think. Like, I was surprised how well it held up.
Yeah, for sure. And it's, like, totally rewatchable too. Like, I feel like the time between, I've seen it so many times, but I feel like the time that I take between it, there's always stuff that I'm like, oh shit, I forgot that happened.
Yeah, I really wish somebody had the rights to both of them and could just do, like, a Blu-ray with both of them on it.
Yeah.
Because I want to see the second one, but I also don't want to buy just the second one to see it, so.
We'll just have
doing
Kit text it to us.
Yeah, Kit.
Line by line.
Get on Snapchat.
I'll just give you
and
a
just
breakdown.
Snap us at minute intervals the whole movie.
Yes, I love it.
All right, news. Anything?
Nope.
Good.
World dead.
Nick Cage wants to play Egghead in a Batman movie. And
let him do whatever he wants, honestly.
Let Nick Cage play fucking Batman in the next Batman movie.
Just let him play an egg.
Let him play an egg.
Yeah, let him play Egghead as just a sentient egg.
I love
like
it.
It's
Let's
Robert
do
Pattinson.
it.
Just like realistic, gritty Batman, but then there's just an egg he's fighting.
Yes, I love it.
All right. What everybody watch this week? Katie.
I rewatched Batman Begins. Not my favorite to begin with, and honestly, didn't feel like the effects held up at all, but it was fine.
It's I think the best out of those 3 Nolan movies.
I would agree. Although I think I've only seen the third one time because I did not care for it. Great. But like, it was fine. I literally only watched it because it, like, auto played and I couldn't get the TV to, like, register the remote, so I was just like, guess this is happening.
I like the idea that instead of just getting up or something, you're just like, I don't know, I guess I get forced to watch Batman Begins.
So the TV that we have in our room is mounted, like, almost at the ceiling, so if the remote doesn't work, there's just nothing I can do about it. I also watched Maximum Risk, which is a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie that I had not seen, and it was not great.
It sounds like a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie.
So it didn't really make a lot of sense, but I will say that it is one of the movies where he plays his twin brother, one of the many, and it was very low on my Jean-Claude Van Damme list. Honestly, not worth watching. And then I also watched the new Pixar movie Turning Red, which is very cute. It is a little bit more, I don't want to say, like, all of the Pixar movies technically are not for children, but, like, aimed for viewing with children. And it's a little more childish than some of the other ones that have come out more recently. And it's basically just, like, about a young girl who's, like, 13 years old, like, dealing with, you know, her family and school and puberty and all of that stuff. And I think it's extremely sweet. And I think if you have kids, you should definitely watch it. But it's definitely kind of, like, stylized sort of more like an anime, I felt, which I wasn't expecting. So the girls are like hyper and they like make kind of anime-ish faces. So it's like definitely a different style than most of the Pixar movies are. But I did really like it, and I saw so many critiques on it where people were like, "Oh, this isn't relatable."
Well, yeah, people
blah
are
blah
fucking
blah.
stupid. I saw like I didn't. I the only thing I knew about the movie was that like it's like a like I guess metaphor for like quote unquote womanhood. I guess like right like isn't it about like essentially the idea of like getting her period and stuff like that, right?
Like sort of. I think it could be also really read as like being part of like the LGBTQ plus like experience. Also, it is also about like womanhood. But
I saw so
her
many like people posting like Rotten Tomatoes reviews and shit where people were like, how am I supposed to relate to a movie with just all Asian people? And I was just like, God, I hate the fucking internet so much.
Yeah, that's really stupid, but like that's the main because like the little girl, May, her family owns a temple in Toronto in Canada where it is a temple for like a goddess who could turn into a red panda. And so like the reason I watched it is like first of all, I like most of the Pixar movies. I haven't seen all of them, but I absolutely love red pandas and she's so cute as a red panda. So I was like, of course I'm gonna watch this. But like I could see why some people wouldn't like it, but to say that it's not relatable, I think is really, really like ignorant because if you can't see yourself, your situations that you've been in and other characters just because of obviously just because of like race or gender or anything like that is fucking stupid.
It's all just fucking
But
dummies on Reddit who are just just can't deal with anything
or
being like not white straight men centric.
right. Or like, yeah, like a white man saying like this isn't relatable at all. Oh, really? Like you've never done like your parents never embarrassed you. You've never had a crush on someone and then they found out and you were embarrassed by it, or et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean? Like that's relatable to whatever. I don't care. Anyways, it's pretty cute. But like I said, it is kind of like stylized in a way that I feel like it's definitely more of like a younger kid kind of movie. And I think like the overall message is great. And I think people should definitely watch it with their kids. I think like the messages that Pixar has been putting out over the last couple of years, like with their movies are like, your kids need to see them because they're important.
Yeah.
But like,
I haven't seen any of them, but I just like seeing like kind of a lot of people's like takes on, or not, I guess not even takes, just like kind of like recapping like the messaging in them. It seems like a lot better than like Sleeping Beauty and fucking Cinderella and shit.
oh my God, sure, yes. Like specifically, I think this one, what was the one? Soul. It had something to do with the soul.
Like the
I can't believe
the
it.
movie Soul.
Yeah, was it just called Soul?
Yeah.
It came out like 2 Christmases ago. Yeah, that one I think again super important. I mean, a lot of the movies are just about like being who you are and like not being. But I think it goes deeper with that than that. But like if you're just like an adult, I don't know. It is kind of weirder than regular, but I don't know. It's styled kind of like a magical girl show, which I really appreciate because I love that. So I don't know. I feel like people who have kids, especially like around her age range, which is like 12 or 13, I think definitely should check it out. I didn't mean to go on a rant about that, but I think that's essentially all I watched.
All right, what about you, Kit?
I only watched Foot Fist Way. That was really about it.
Oh yeah, I think I've seen that. I can't
It
remember.
rocks. Jody Hill and Danny McBride forever.
Oh yeah, I have seen that. Yeah. Well, I'm mostly unemployed at the moment, so I just watched a bunch of shit. I started watching like the physical media shit that I haven't had time to watch, so I watched Wolfpack, which Vinegar Syndrome released, which is surprisingly really good. I wasn't really expecting much from a movie about like a football team, but it's
A pack of wolves.
well, it's about a football team that like like the guy, like the quarterback or whatever, is like just some reason gets way into the idea of like fascism and starts running the football team like a fascist,
Oh
and
my
his
god.
name is Jack Boot. So like,
Oh my
it's real
god.
stupid, but it's like
Okay.
it's surprisingly really good. Um,
Wow.
I finally watched Whatever It Takes, the Andrew Dice Clay, Don the Dragon Wilson, and Fred Williamson fucking movie, and it's pretty good.
Oh my.
It's, it's Andrew Dice Clay apparently improved all of his lines, so they all just sound like Andrew Dice Clay jokes. It's so weird.
Wow.
I watched Werewolf in a Girl's Dormitory, which is a 1961 movie about a werewolf in a girl's dormitory. And it's fine. Like, it's pretty good for, like, a 60s black and white, like, werewolf movie. Um, I also discovered this channel on YouTube that just uploads fucking, like, weird Japanese movies and then also, like, weird propaganda movies. So I watched this
Oh
fucking
my god.
like satanic panic documentary from like the 80s called Devil Worship: The Rise of Satanism that is the most bonkers thing I've ever seen. It's fucking
But it's like a
terrible. Yeah,
real
it's a real
like
thing that like some, Christian organization made that like just makes no fucking sense. Like
I need to watch that.
it's
Sounds
like
amazing.
they go like way into how like kids learn magic spells from Dungeons and Dragons and just all that dumbass shit.
Great.
Um
You know what? I think I've seen clips of that on TikTok.
yeah, probably. I like according it looked like based on Letterboxd, it seems like a kind of well-known stupid movie.
Love
I
it.
watched this
Amazing.
Japanese short called Guzo: The Thing Forsaken by God Part 1. That was this
Okay.
like
Yeah.
40-minute short about just some fucking weird tentacle monster just attacking like just these people in a cabin. Like it's not good, and like there were no subtitles, so I couldn't tell you what was going on, but the monster effects fucking slapped.
Nice.
Watched a movie called Blue Monkey that I don't remember what this was.
I know the cover for it with the cool
The
like
head or whatever with like a
so there's that one and then it has an alternate title and the cover has like a big like praying mantis type
yeah, the
thing.
alternate title is Insect.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I remember this
But I've
now.
seen it mixed where it says blue monkey with the
Yeah,
mantis on it. And it's like,
it.
what?
I don't know why it's called Blue Monkey because I don't know if that. I don't remember that ever being said, and there's not a monkey in it. It's about like a virus or parasite or some shit that like a worm thing that crawls into mouths and infects people. It like
No thanks.
it would be good as like again like a 40-minute short, but like there's like a 30 or 40-minute segment in the middle that's so fucking boring. I watched another really really shitty 10-minute short called Redheaded Vengeance that's just like somebody in like a really shitty clown mask attacking people.
Oh my god. I forgot I also watched the Wrinkles the Clown
Oh
documentary.
boy, how's that?
Oh yeah, that rocks.
It's something. I don't want to spoil it for anyone because it's definitely not what I thought it was, but
Solid twist in there.
yeah, it was it's if you're interested in clowns or like the phenomena of like whenever people were dressing up as clowns or whatever, like definitely give it a watch because I don't think it was
That
that
was so
long, but
weird. What a
it
weird
took
time.
terrible, terrible. Yeah, it took a weird twist that I actually wasn't expecting. So I don't know, maybe give it a watch.
I also watched Lucio Fulci's Warriors of the Year 2072, which is like a
Oh,
pretty standard, Mad Max ripoff, but it slaps. I recommend it. I watched John Carpenter's Village of the Damned. Hot
oh, I
take,
Oh
love
yeah.
that
fucking
one.
banger.
No, it's so
Yeah,
good.
it's
That's one of my
really good.
favorites.
I hadn't seen it in a
The,
long time.
the least believable thing John Carpenter ever put in a movie is Kirstie Alley as a
Right.
scientist.
It's like when they put like everyone like talked about Denise Richards as a nuclear physicist at
Yeah,
fucking
Yeah.
whatever Bond.
yeah. James Bond got nothing on Kirstie Alley in this.
It's a real bummer watching some of the later period John Carpenter. We're like, oh god, like all of these people he cast in these movies are just fucking shitheads now.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
let's see. Then I
Great movie
I
though.
watched Ferocious Female Freedom Fighters, which looked cool as hell until I realized it was a movie Troma got the rights to and then just redubbed comedy shit on top of.
What?
So it was pretty fucking terrible. Um, the hell was this? Unashamed of Romance. Oh, yeah, this was this weird movie that one YouTube channel uploaded from 1938 that apparently in like the 30s there was like a craze in movies about like nudist colonies. And it's
Oh.
like this weird movie that like deals with like nudity in the 30s and also like race things, and obviously not super great because it was the 30s, but it's about this like biracial woman who's in love with her boss, and like her boss is like a prude, so she kind of like tricks him into like joining this nudist colony. I don't know, it was
What?
interesting as like a like this weird moment in time that like, obviously I didn't like live through, just kind of interesting peek at this like weird craze that happened at a time you wouldn't have expected it, because there's like
Great.
a shit ton of boobs in it, and it was like, the 30s. It's very strange. I also watched another movie they uploaded from 1933 called The Story of Temple Drake that I believe is the first, like, or like if not the first, a very early like rape revenge story, where like
Oh.
it's like you don't know like see anything because again it was 1933, so it's not like fucking Last House on the Left. It's kind of all sort of
Right.
implied, but it was actually like really fucking good. Like I recommend it if
Hmm.
you could find it. It's a pretty solid movie. I then watched Army of One, a movie about a real life story about this guy who just decided to he was going to go to Afghanistan to hunt down Osama bin Laden, and Nick Cage plays him.
Oh,
And it's
okay.
Nick Cage makes the wildest voice choice in it. And like I don't know, the movie seems to be one of those ones like from that period where like people don't like Nick Cage, but I thought he was great at it. Like the entire plot is he's this guy that like I don't know, he has some disease going on where like he has to get oh shit, I just lost the word. Not not chemo, but like
Injection.
it's something's
Oh,
going on where,
radiation.
yeah, like it's something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but he has these visions of God who is played by Russell Brand. So it's very weird, but like I honestly, it's on HBO Max now. If you have it, I recommend it. I thought it was great. Nick Cage is really good in it, and like the rest of the cast is like Will Sasso and like Paul Shear's in it, and oh, I can't think of her name. The mom from the Goldbergs is like the love interest of Nick Cage. Like
Oh,
Nick
interesting.
Cage is in like basically playing Paul Giamatti. It seems like the voice he puts on is Paul Giamatti's voice. It's very weird, but I loved it. I've also watched The Best of Times, which was the pilot to a Laugh-In style show starring Nick Cage and Crispin Glover as teenagers. And it's not
Oh.
good, but very fucking weird seeing both of them playing these weird teenage roles. And Nick Cage was still going by Nicholas Coppola.
Love
I
it.
watched two more Nick Cage movies. One called Birdie, that was pretty good, where he's like a Vietnam vet, and him and his best friend go to like Vietnam and come back like fucked up, and his friend just like is so traumatized that he now thinks he's a bird. Which it
Oh.
sounds goofy, but it's like I don't know, it's kind of sad but really good. And then I watched a movie called Brubaker, which I guess is the first thing Nick Cage ever did, because he's an uncredited person in this prison, and it's a Robert Redford plays this warden of a prison who goes in and like lives the first like 2 weeks as like a prisoner to see what it's like in this like fucked up prison. And it's like Robert Redford, Yaphet Kotto, Morgan Freeman's in it. It's Emmett Walsh is in it. Like, it's
Wow.
surprisingly like really. I was like, oh god, I can't watch this. Like, it's like over 2.5 hours, or maybe right under 2.5 hours. But I was just like, oh god, this is gonna be a slog. But it was actually really good. Highly recommend. I watched the Tiger Claws trilogy, which I guess I could recommend. The first two were pretty okay. The third one's not good at all. I finally got around to Steel and Lace, which slaps. More movies about a lady robot using a drill on people.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And then I watched There's Nothing Out Here, which just highly recommend as like this insane early 90s monster movie where the monster looks like a frog with like 2 arms and a crocodile tail that eats shaving cream. It's so it's really interesting because I like, number one, I don't know how Vinegar Syndrome crammed so many bonus things onto one single disc, because it's got the movie, 4 commentary tracks. There's like 3 or 4 like 50 to 60 minute interviews with people that in the movie. There is 2 shorts the director made, another full feature length movie the director made, commentary on 2 of them, and then there's just like, I guess Troma originally released it on DVD, so it's got all of the archival bonus like stuff from the Troma one as well. It's wild, but it the actual There's Nothing Out There movie rules. The rest of the movies he made that are on it are not great, but apparently so one of the characters in the movie is this guy who is obsessed with horror movies, and he's constantly like making references to like things like they go into the woods and like there's like an accident, and he's like, oh, this seems like a weird omen and shit, where like they're standing around and like the wood starts shaking, and he's like, I should probably check that out, but I'm not going to. And he tells this story in one of the interviews about having a meeting. Again, this movie was released in 1991. He had a meeting with Wes Craven's son, who loved the movie, and then like 5 years later, Scream comes out, and like I saw some debate in like the Letterboxd stuff about people being like, he's just trying to say he created meta stuff, and it's like, I don't know. Like, if you watch it, like, the dude is very much Randy from Scream. It's kind of wild.
Interesting.
And then right before we recorded, I watched TC 2000 finally, which Xerxes is screaming. TC 2000, very good, highly recommend. And then I started digging into Vinegar Syndrome's made for TV box set with Are You in the House Alone, which also pretty good. It's got Dennis Quaid in like 1978 in it. It's very like as a bad guy. It's another recommend if you can get it.
Nice.
Shout outs. Kit, what do you want to shout out?
Bret Hart versus Razor Ramon, King of the Ring 93.
Yeah, Razor Ramon, Shawn Michaels ladder match, whatever that was.
Yeah, WrestleMania 10.
Yeah. I've been seeing like obviously like footage and shit of him going around lately, and I just forgot how fucking tall he was.
Such a large man.
He does the Razor's Edge to Shawn Michaels while he's on the fucking ladder, and like Razor Ramon is like on the fucking mat. It's insane.
So good.
What about you, Katie?
Well, it hasn't completely passed yet, but Senate has passed a measure that would make daylight savings time permanent, so we don't have to keep falling back and falling fucking forward all the time. And I'm way here for it. It still obviously has to like.
I'm mad. I'm mad that I'm losing an hour of my life.
It's just like
we do not need to be doing this.
This is the thing.
It doesn't need to be dark at 4:30. Like, it is right now almost 7:00 and it's still daylight out, and I want to keep it.
Like, the time changes are dumb as shit. The thing that drives me crazy is that was announced today, the same day that the White House was just like, we ran out of money, so I guess we're not helping with COVID anymore. And I'm just like, oh my god, like, you can't fucking, you're just,
that doesn't surprise me.
It's just shit where I'm just like, that, like, they're like, yes, I get it. I understand why people are like into the, getting rid of daylight savings time. It's fucking dumb, but like, I think it's very funny, and I guarantee you in the midterms coming up, it's going to be the thing that, like, they're all like, we unanimously, like, passed this thing, blah, 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 everybody support us. And it's like, you unanimously passed the dumbest goddamn thing possible.
We should combine the two things.
Yeah.
And the government can spend a shitload of money declaring war on the sun.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it's the worst.
Do like Mr. Shomes and blow up the moon.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for sure, but also die. I hate it.
I'm gonna sort of jump on Kits, and I'm gonna say, shout out Big E Langston.
Oh yeah, hope he's doing all right. I saw he got released and is at least at home.
Yeah, I saw like
that's good.
Some doctor saying it's a good possibility his like in-ring career is over, which is bummer. So I don't know. I hope he's good and not like fucked up for life. Like that drop on his head looked pretty fucking terrible.
Jesus Christ, I physically recoiled watching it.
It's just, I don't know. He just in general seems like such a good dude. Like, the night it happened, he's in the hospital to neck brace and just sent out a video. It's just like, don't worry about old B. I'll be all right. Like, you guys just go ahead and be like comforting people worried about him while he's possibly got a broken neck. What a king. All right. What the hell is happening out there?
Disaster.
What we doing next week, Kit?
What the fuck was my last one?
Kronos?
Yeah, Kronos. That one.
Yay!
All right, yeah, Kronos, which I believe is on HBO Max.
Kronos. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, watch Kronos for next week. Kronos rules. All right, if you want to support us, you could join our Patreon at patreon.com/IPSufferPodcast. Katie and I recorded a shorter episode on Demons 3 the Ogre and Demons 3 Black Demons, which
by shorter, I'm pretty sure it was still at least 45 minutes.
Oh yeah,
so.
It's just Black Demons is real fucking terrible, so it was hard to find anything to really say about it that wasn't just like, wow, this is not great.
Yeah.
The Ogre though slaps.
Very, very good.
Get to see an ogre dressed up
slapping ogres.
Dressed up as fucking Shakespeare, basically. It's pretty cool.
Great. Masterpiece.
You could buy merch at our storefront tier shop. Leave us a rating on Spotify and a rating and review on iTunes. From this movie should they tell us about? Not that anyone ever does, but tell us what these geodes had to do with this fucking movie.
Yeah, tell us that. Also tell us, would you rather have an eyeball on your... Ooh, yeah, definitely. Well, I don't know if I want to give my address out, but I definitely want free geodes.
If I get like a P.O. box that like holds like envelopes and then people just send us fucking...
I would love that. Give us your good energy. I also want to know, would you rather have an eye on your palm or an eye on your foot?
I mean,
if you had to have
It
one.
seems like it would be hard when you have to wear shoes all the time to have it on your foot.
Maybe. I don't know.
Follow us on Instagram at IOP Podcast. Follow Kid at Hidden Kitstery. Follow Katie at Werewolf Face. You can listen to my other podcast, Nate Kid Movie Club. Go watch Kronos. Watch The Gate. Get a hand or an eyeball put in your hand. Get a hand put in your eyeball. Either way.
Get a hand put in your. Yeah,
One of the two.
I like
Sounds
it.
good.
Yeah.
I hope.
I wonder what it'd be like to get a hand job with an eyeball hand.
Ugh.
Seems awful.
From what I've heard, cum does not feel good in eyes.
Seems worse.
So
I was gonna say, seems worse for the person who's got an eye hand or whatever you said.
oh god,
It's just tears.
I'm gonna have a fucking nightmare about this.
Asking the real question.
I hope you eyeball hand job, but why?
Ugh.